Finally. Hello, people. Sorry if I'm sounding a little bit bothered. It's just my stupid Xbox game bar. What I record, the website seems to be a bit dodgy with me for some reason. Anyway, you're not here to see the good old technologies we're throwing out the window bits. Nope, I'm talking about Nick Jr. from the UK, but pardon me, because all of the Nick Jr. tier lists is, because tier is meant like that, how the way that is spelled, T-I-E-R, tier, which I think is actually tire, but that's not really the point. Because these are all the American version of Nick Jr., I put all the ones on the top that I've actually seen the shows in my life. And the ones I haven't seen on the bottom, it's just this other one I haven't seen. So to make it a bit easier, I'll only go through the ones I've actually seen up until where Tickety Tock is, because I've only heard of Paw Patrol, Team Uizui, Bubble Guppies, Shimmer and Shine, Peter Rabbit, and I heard of Noggin, but it's all American. Never heard of Mutton Stuff or Jack's Big Music before. I've never heard of those. But, yeah, let's go through the ones I've actually seen in my life. The first show, Blue's Clues. Well, what do I have to say? I think that's what Nick Jr. stands out for the most, is the original Blue's Clues show that ran in America. It ran between 1996 to 2006, but because I'm from the United Kingdom, I've been growing up with Kevin Dewala, the one that made the UK version of Blue's Clues from 1998 to 2003. Yeah, I really like Blue's Clues, I do, specifically Kevin Dewala, because he's someone you don't really see very often on any other TV shows apart from the One Show or specifically BBC shows like BBC One, and he actually made a guest appearance in Eggheads a little while ago, not more than 10 years ago, a bit recently. Is it one of my favourite Nick Jr. shows? It is actually. Blue's Clues is not only a great show for children, but because now we're in 2021, it's becoming very nostalgic for older audiences like me and possibly Aaron. The only thing though that seems to be interesting and curious for me is that when Blue's Clues returned with Blue's Clues and You, instead of making a UK version of Blue's Clues and You like they did for the original show, they actually kept the same version with Josh, that's his name, which is the new character from Blue's Clues in the franchise. But what I'm seeing to be curious of for the UK audiences is that they actually see Steve and Joe as previous presenters in the American version specifically. But in reality, with me, I've actually grew up with Kevin Dewala rather than Steve or Joe because they are Americans. I seem to realize that no one seems to take any concerns or notice about the UK version of Blue's Clues and You, because it's the same version of Blue's Clues and You from America. I think it may be only me because I've been growing up with Kevin Dewala. One thing I wish what could have happened with Blue's Clues and You for the UK is to maybe have a female presenter, or maybe a presenter that can be Kevin's brother or sister, or they could have done like a reference to Kevin Dewala, but the Nick Jr. UK seems to take the whole show of Blue's Clues and You like they had the American version this entire time. So yeah, that is very strange. That's only because it's Kevin Dewar, because he's one of my favourite presenters of my childhood. And yes, it's going to go all the way to the top. I'm a bit sorry if I can't. Oh, there we go. I'm using the arrow keys to get up there. Definitely going to put it on one of the top because despite that I am 22 this year, I watch childhood shows instead of watching shows like Casualty or EastEnders or The Andrew Marr Show, just to name a few examples of grown-up shows, because the only grown-up shows I watch, and I know this has nothing to do with Nick Jr., but I'm trying to say that the only adult shows I watch is The Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park. I've watched King of the Hill before. I've seen The Cleveland Show, Drawn Together, Gogglebox, Can't Pay Will Take It Away, Four in a Bed. I sometimes watch Homes Under the Hammer on BBC One, sometimes. So I'm not childish, but I don't want to be boring either. That oh, it's doom. The only adult show I definitely wouldn't watch is the BBC News. It's always doom and gloom, and they're going on about the coronavirus for far too long, in my opinion. I know it's all relevant, it's current, but yeah, people. I'm trying my best not to think about the virus. I'm trying to talk about other things like Nick Jr. But anyway, let's get back to Nick Jr. Should have gone Specsavers and don't even laugh. At least I'm trying to have a conversation like you might probably hear on TalkSport or BBC Radio 6. Lazytown now. I really like Lazytown, but I think back in the 2000s I did see it on Nick Jr., but I've seen it on CBeebies as well. Some of these shows have actually been on more than one channel, but it's fine. I mean, it's not a rare thing, but it's not too common either. I really like Lazytown with Sporticus, Stepney, Robbie Rotten, Stingy, Ziggy, the Mayor, and just to name a few characters. But what's interesting about Lazytown is it's becoming very popular in recent years because of Robbie Rotten with the memes in 2016. Like the song We Are Number One, I think it's called. And the other meme is Don't Let Your Kids Watch It, which I really like. And it kind of reminds me of Amber the Fangirl. Yeah, I think Robbie Rotten is a favourite character from Lazytown fans, but unfortunately now, the actor for Robbie Rotten passed away in 2018 of a type of cancer. But no one is around forever, and there's nothing I can do to prevent that. What I call Lazytown one of my favourite shows. I don't consider it as one of my favourite shows, but I'll call it as a really great show for older audiences and the recent generation. They have made 2 seasons in the 2000s and 2 seasons in the 2010s. I wonder if they'll make any more Lazytown episodes, or maybe even a movie. Who's my favourite character from Lazytown? I really like Stepney and Robbie Rotten. I like Sporticus. But if I had to choose a favourite, it has to be Sporticus, Stepney, and Robbie Rotten because they're the most iconic. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's better than Blue's Clues, but I wouldn't call it bad or anything. It's just a great show to watch in general. Yeah, what an impact it has made. The same thing goes for Blue's Clues, with Kevin Dewar, of course, for the UK. Dora the Explorer. I actually seen Dora the Explorer a lot in my childhood. I think I even actually enjoy watching the episodes. I know, similar to Caillou and possibly Little Bill, maybe, that there are a lot of Dora the Explorer haters, but it's not that I take that in. And the only thing that Caillou and Dora the Explorer and possibly Little Bill has in common with the three dots in that sentence. It's the Go Anime videos, which very comically and just bizarrely, so many YouTubers as of these days make grounded videos basically on Caillou and Dora the Explorer. Oh my god. I'm not even going to go down in that road. And no, I don't think I'm going to make a Go Anime tier list before you say anything. So yeah, don't you even think about it, Aaron Edward Man. And you're smiling because I'm talking about Go Anime. And possibly Harry Humble, because I think Harry Humble can't stand watching Go Anime videos of Caillou and Dora, and maybe Barney the Dinosaur as well. But do I consider Dora the Explorer one of my favourite shows? Not really, but I don't hate Dora the Explorer. She is very popular though, with marketing and probably an audience they had a long time ago. They have made lots of Dora the Explorer seasons, and even they made another series called Dora Let's Go to the City, I think it's called. They made a few years ago. I've never seen it, any episodes, but I've heard of it. I don't find the show annoying in the slightest, but they do stare at you quite a lot. They look at you directly nearly all the time. I know some shows does that, like with Kevin DeWalla and lots of CBB shows. But yeah, I'll probably talk about that another time about character eye looking. I'll talk about that another time. Who's my favourite character from Dora the Explorer? I like the grumpy old troll and Swiper. I like the map. There are lots of characters actually. If I had to choose a favourite, but it's not really my favourite show, it possibly has to be Swiper because he goes, "Oh man," in nearly every episode, but sometimes he actually swipes whatever Dora has. I think it's possibly her backpack, and Backpack's actually a character, I remember. And he goes, "You're too late, you'll never find them now." He does that in a few episodes, not every single episode, but in some of them. I wouldn't call it better than Blue's Clues or Lazytown, but I wouldn't call it a bad show. But if you're Dora the Explorer fans, I respect your opinion. I mean, everyone's different. It's like Blue's Clues is one of my favourite Nick Jr. shows. That's probably the best section. Just an alright show, but not my favourite, but not bad either. Little Bear. Now, I haven't seen much of Little Bear in my childhood, but I think when they used to have Nick Jr. Classics up until 2010, Wikipedia says, Little Bear is more of like a nice chilled out show, a slice of life show similar to Postman Pat. I'm trying to think of other shows. Maybe the Wombles as well. I like Little Bear. It's not one of my favourite shows, but it's a solid. If you want to watch a nighttime show and it's 9 o'clock at night with your children, I think Little Bear is a good show to watch. Just a solid nighttime show before bed. I think that's possibly a good idea. I'll definitely say it's better than Dora the Explorer, but it's definitely not one of my favourite shows just because I haven't really seen much of it, but I won't call it a bad show in the slightest. Franklin. Now, I haven't actually seen Franklin on Nick Jr. I actually seen possibly a CGI show, Franklin and Friends, on Tiny Pop a few years ago. I like Franklin as a character. I mean, nowhere near as interesting as Kevin DeWalla or Roy the Racing Car or who else? Maybe some other fictional characters. But I like Franklin as a general interest character. The only reason why I seem to kind of because his name's Franklin, and this has nothing to do with Nick Jr. Every time I watch an episode of Franklin and Friends on Tiny Pop around in 2013 and possibly 2014, Franklin reminds me of the other Franklin from Grand Theft Auto 5 because, you know, Franklin from GTA 5. I'll probably do a tier list of Grand Theft Auto games in a future video if you want me to. I mean, I played lots of Grand Theft Auto games. So yeah, it's not one of my favourite shows, Franklin and Friends, but it's a interesting kids show where it's possibly better than Peppa Pig or Horrid Henry. And definitely Caillou. It's a good thing I haven't seen Caillou in my childhood. But I think it'll probably made a much worse impact on UK audiences than Peppa Pig and Horrid Henry has likely done. Yeah, Franklin and Friends. I know it's not exactly Franklin and Friends, but it does have the character Franklin on it. Will I call it better than Dora? No, actually, not because I'm saying it's a boring show, but I wouldn't call it amazing either, just an alright show, just a good show if you want to watch it, you want to learn about problem solving. The Backyardigans, I've actually seen the black, should have gone Specsavers, the Backyardigans, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, in my childhood. I really like watching the show. It's possibly better than Dora the Explorer and the Little Bear, but would I call it one of my favourite shows of my childhood of Nick Jr.? I won't call it one of my favourites, but just like Lazytown, I enjoyed watching the Backyardigans when I was younger. Maybe not as good as Lazytown, but better than these three shows, because I know it's a popular show. I wish it was more popular than Peppa Pig though, because of their imagination, and I think it might be formulaic, but the stories are variety because they might be in like a cowboy scene or they're out of space or underwater. It's all about imagination, just like Pinky Dinky Doo from CBeebies. The only thing about the Backyardigans is that I can't remember any of the characters' names. They are forgettable, in my opinion, but a nice nostalgic show from my younger years. Bob the Builder. Now, I think I've only seen one episode of Bob the Builder in my childhood on Nick Jr. I seen Bob the Builder Project build it on CBeebies, but I haven't seen much of Bob the Builder in my childhood except for A Christmas to Remember, Built to be Wild, Bob's Big Plan, Race to the Finish likely. I think I've seen The Knights of Can Do a Lot, I think it's called. Sorry if I'm stuttering, I'm just trying to think for myself. The only reason why I haven't seen Bob the Builder a lot in my childhood is because it's only one thing. It's got nothing to do with the characters or the music. It's the original Hit Entertainment logo. I couldn't stand watching the original Hit Entertainment logo with all the party tutors and all of that. I just couldn't stand it when I was a kid. I know. I am such a dipstick, aren't I, for just hating something that's really popular, but there is one childhood show I've seen that I can't stand at all, but it's not on here. You'll have to just find out another time what it will be. I really like Bob the Builder, and I've seen it sometimes in my recent years. The original series, Project Build It, I've seen very recently of Ready Steady Build. It's alright, but the original series possibly has better stories. just a better screen time, because I know in the later episodes of the original Bob the Builder franchise, a lot of characters like JJ or Skip or Mr. Broadbent or Mr. Fothergill or David Dixon, possibly, they don't really make any appearances in the later episodes, like in Project Builder, because of the changes and moving into Sunflower Valley. But yeah, as a BBC and possibly a UK Nick Jr. show, it is very watchable and it has made a massive impact. So yeah, will I call it better than Blue's Clues? I think I find Bob the Builder and Blue's Clues equally great, but I won't call it one of my favourite childhood shows, but I do enjoy watching the episodes and the movies. Is it better than Lazytown and the Backyardigans? I think it may be suitable for an older audience because it doesn't have sing-alongs, or maybe, I don't know, maybe Bob the Builder is just for a general audience. I'll say it's better than the Backyardigans. I like the animation and the characters. My favourite character is Skip because he doesn't get much screen time, and he's like a later original series character that only appeared in series 6 to 9, and he only appeared in one episode of Project Build It. My favourite human character, I like a few human characters from Bob the Builder, like Farmer Pickles, Pam Goody, JJ, Mr. Dixon. Yeah, he was the character that delivers all the posts and the parcels. Mr. Dixon, Mr. Bentley, Mr. Beasley, Mr. Sabatini, just to name a few characters. If I had to choose a show between Bob the Builder and Lazytown, it has to be Bob the Builder, because maybe it has more episodes, or maybe it might be the movies. I like Lazytown, but I think I like Bob the Builder a little bit more, but I do like Lazytown. That's a great show. So yeah, that's my opinion on Bob the Builder. Dino Dan. Now, I haven't seen Dino Dan on Nick Jr. because in the UK it was only shown on CITV, but I did see it on CITV during maybe 2012 or 2013, somewhere around there. I like watching Dino Dan. There's also a sequel series called Dino Trek or T-Rec or something like that. And there's another series called Dino Diana, I think it is. I haven't seen every episode, but I've only seen the episodes with Dino Dan and Dino T-Rec. T-Rec is Dan's younger brother. It's all about dinosaurs, and they learn about how each one of them has its habitats and its nature. I'm not a dinosaur lover, but I've seen Dino Dan during the 2010s. I wouldn't call it one of my favourite shows, but I find it an interesting show if you don't watch it far too often, like with Bob the Builder or Dora the Explorer. Will I call it better than Little Bear and Dora the Explorer? Well, it's educational on dinosaurs, so if you're a dinosaur lover, Dino Dan or Dino T-Rex or the franchise itself is the perfect show for you, but it's definitely not one of my favourite shows, and I really can't remember any of the characters apart from Dan and T-Rex. So yeah, just an educational show, and it's a perfect show for dinosaur lovers. The fresh beat, Sorry, it's just with this image here, it's the Fresh Beat B, or the TFBB, I'll put it in that way. I seen this show a few years ago on Nick Jr. in 2015, mate, I think it was. Found it alright. I like the animation, but mainly the TFBB is mostly an American show where it's full with live action actors and singers. I don't know much about it, so I'll just put it with Franklin because I don't really know a lot about the TFBB, but I've definitely seen it, I have, and heard of it. Go Diego Go! I've actually seen this in my childhood, back in the late 2000s. It's a spin-off series to Dora the Explorer. I remember Diego as like being a friend of Dora's, but he's not related to Dora the Explorer. I like watching the show as a kid. I think, from what I can remember, it's a show about different animals. I can't remember too much about it because it's been a long time since I've seen Go Diego Go. Saying go 3 times, like go, 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 like in Dick and Dom, and for all the creamy muck everywhere, that someone says go 3 times towards nearly every episode near the end of Dick and Dom in the Bungalow. Yeah. I wonder if Diego and Dick and Dom has something in common because of Go, Go, Go. Maybe in one of my future vlogs when Lewis Vlogs Series 3 comes out, maybe I'll probably do a theory of Dick and Dom and Diego. I remember 2 monkey characters from the show, similar to Swiper, but I can't remember their names again because I haven't seen it in years. Yeah, I did enjoy watching the show. It's not one of my favourites, but I really enjoy watching Go Diego Go. Yeah, if you're an animal lover, then this show is possibly for you with animation in it. But it's mostly towards 4 to 8-year-olds as the target audience, but it's up to you. I just like Go Diego Go as a rememberable show and something I watched from my childhood. Little Bill. I actually seen Little Bill a few times on and off again throughout my life. I know Little Bill and Big Bill, where Big Bill is the father of the family, and I think he's the guidance to Little Bill and explaining how life works and how Little Bill reacts to everything, like a car trip or going through changes, or his favourite character, Captain Thunderstorm? Brainstorm, that's it. Captain Brainstorm, which is the character that goes into space and goes on space adventures. The only thing what I've known about Little Bill nowadays is the creator, Bill Cosby. Unfortunately for the creator of Little Bill, he has gone through some controversial situations. Yeah, about mainly with women, but we don't need to go down on that road. I enjoy watching Little Bill as a show. I like the animation where it's not like you've seen it more than 100 times. It's not one of my favourite shows, but if you want to watch a show where it could help you with life problem solving, then this show's possibly for you with animation interests. Especially if you have a 5-year-old boy or girl, if they're learning about life and learning about serious things. Not like drugs or relationships or anything like that. I'm talking about problem solving or going through school situations. This show is likely for you. I wouldn't call it better than Bob the Builder or Lazytown, but I like the show as a solid, interesting childhood show because Little Bill has came out between 1999 to 2004. It says on Wikipedia. So yeah, I like watching Little Bill, and I don't mind Bill Cosby just as a guy, but I've learned about him that he's gone through controversial stuff for himself, but no one's perfect. It's like Trey Parker and Matt Stone from South Park has been threatened a few years ago on their 200th episode, But because this is Nick Jr., I'll talk about that another time. Yeah, just next to the Backyardigans. Just a good show. Not bad, but not amazing either. Max and Ruby. I remember watching this a lot on Nick Jr. in my childhood. Max and Ruby. Ruby and Max. One interesting thing recently about Max and Ruby. Not only that, their parents are finally shown in the later episodes, in the later seasons, but Angry Grandpa, who has passed away in 2017 of cancer, he actually, about 10 years ago nearly, he done a rant based on Max and Ruby. I find it very funny, and I did say in Lewis Vlog 23 that, in a very comedic way, that Angry Grandpa is all cuddly wuddly and he's all soft and modern. And I was only joking that it was all part of the acting. Who's my favourite character from Max and Ruby? There's their grandma. There's Morris, I think there's a character named that. I think Louise is Ruby's best friend. And Max has a best friend as well, but I can't remember his name really. It has to be the main characters, Max and Ruby, because it's their title name. Well, I call it one of my favourite Nick Jr. shows. I really enjoy watching Max and Ruby in my childhood, a lot more than possibly the Backyardigans and Go Diego Go. So, I won't call it my #1 Nick Jr. show from the UK, but I definitely enjoyed it more than any of these other shows I've seen in my life. Just like with Blue's Clues, Max and Ruby has to be like a top 5 favourite. Olivia. Now, I've seen Olivia on Milkshake, I have, not actually on Nick Jr. in the UK. I did enjoy watching Olivia, but I didn't love it or anything. I just find it as an animation show, but I really can't remember anything about it. It's definitely underrated because no one really seems to talk about it. So just like the TFBB, I really forgot about the show. I wouldn't call it bad, but it's forgettable, if you want to call it. Oswald. I've actually heard of Oswald in my life, but I've very rarely seen it on TV. I think it might have been on Nick Jr., but I've never really seen it myself. I don't know. I've seen it on the Hit Entertainment advert, though, where they were promoting DVDs and possibly VHSs on my Pingu Bouncing Fun DVD. I like Pingu, but he's not Nick Jr., so sorry Pingu, you have to be safe for another time. I haven't seen Oswald like maybe just one episode, but I've very rarely seen it in my childhood. So yeah, Oswald is very underrated. I wonder if Oswald is the brother of Octo from Almost Naked Animals, because he's blue. His name begins with an O, and Octo is also blue. Who knows? Maybe it was an original Almost Naked Animals episode. Peppa Pig. Now, because people never ever get tired of Peppa Pig, it's on repeats on Nick Jr. and on Nick Jr. 2 nearly, possibly all the time. I mean, not every single time, but most of the time. There's sometimes Nick Jr. Peppa they do on Nick Jr. 2, and it is shown on Milkshake. I don't hate Peppa Pig as a character or as a show, but if it's on repeats like all the time, it can get very, very tiring. It's like watching the same movie every single day, or having Cocoa Pops for breakfast every day. It just gets boring eventually. I've only seen all the episodes of Series 1 to 4, and I've seen clips and bits of Series 5 and 6. Oops, where did that go? Oh, there it is. I don't hate the show, but it's not one of my favourites. I don't think it never really has been. Who's my favourite character from Peppa Pig, you might be wondering? There's lots of characters from Peppa Pig. I like Grampy Rabbit, Grandpa Pig, there's Danny Dog's dad, there's Daddy Pig, there's Miss Rabbit, just to name a few characters. But if I had to pick a favourite, it really has to be Grandpa Rabbit, or should have gone to Super Specsavers. Maybe because I've been talking so much about these shows. I'm trying to get my head around. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't call it a bad show, but I wouldn't call it one of my favourites either. But I've seen it, well, a lot of times I have, on Nick Jr. and Milkshake. Now, Pocoyo, it's actually been seen on Nick Jr., but I mainly seen Pocoyo on CITV. Because I've seen it on CITV more, I'll save that for another time if there is a CITV tier list. Sorry, Pocoyo, you're being saved for another special thing. Maggie and the Ferocious Beast. I like watching Maggie and the Ferocious Beast in my childhood. It wasn't one of my favourites, but I did enjoy watching I enjoy watching the animations with Maggie and the Ferocious Beast, and there was a pig character that I really can't remember his name. Was it Wilbur or something? I haven't seen it for a long time, but one thing about Maggie and the Ferocious Beast is I couldn't get the ending credits music out of my head for years. I know it was stuck in my head for a long time, the ending credits theme. But I enjoy watching Maggie and the Ferocious Beast in my childhood. Yeah, I wonder if I should rewatch it and see what I think of it. Mrs. Spider's Sunny Patch Friends. I actually seen this in my childhood, but not very much. Because I only seen it maybe twice or three times a long time ago, I don't really remember anything about the show because I've very rarely seen it. Just a few shows left now. The Wonder Pets. I enjoy watching the Wonder Pets in my childhood. There was one episode where it was titled The Wonder Pets, Save the Wonder Pets, where the Wonder Pets actually need rescuing themselves because they got trapped in a whale, I think it was. And the only way they have to get the Wonder Pets out is to tickle the whale. And they actually take home a pearl, they do, when they got back. I think it might have been a double-length episode, I think it was. I enjoy watching the Wonder Pets in my childhood. And yeah, with the real look-alike characters with Minnie, Tuck, and Ming Ming, or was it? I think it was Ming Ming, or was it Wing? It's not Wing Wing. Ming Ming. I think it was her name. Yeah. Oh, is it one of my top 3 or top 5? Or one of my favourite shows? I did enjoy watching the Wonder Pets a lot in my childhood. So it is one of my top 3 or top 5. I'll see how many shows is on the top section, and I'll see what is my top 5 Nick Jr. shows. Wow Wow Whoopsie. Now, Wow Wow Whoopsie. It's one of my favourite shows from Nick Jr. It is definitely one of my favourites because I have so many memories of Wow Wow Whoopsie from the UK. Yeah, I played the games, I watched the episodes in the UK dub. I've possibly seen every episode because I enjoyed watching it so much. One other thing as well is that Whoopsie from the show reminded me of SpongeBob because of his yellow skin look-alike. Widget, which is the pink rabbit character from Wow Wow Whoopsie, reminded me of Patrick Star because her colour is pink and Patrick is pink too, despite with the shorts. I remember Walden, but he didn't look like Squidward though from SpongeBob, but yeah. Whoopsie and SpongeBob are very interesting characters. If you put them together, that's the reason why I remember Wow Wow Whoopsie so well. I wish this was super popular. I wish it had more marketing. I wish it had more episodes. I wish the show was carrying on as of now. I really miss Wow Wow Whoopsie for years, but it ended in 2010. It is definitely one of my favourite shows because, it's one of the most enjoyable shows in Nick Jr. I've ever seen, along with Blue's Clues. Definitely more than Max and Ruby and the Wonder Pets. But Wow Wow Whoopsie and Blue's Clues has to be in my top 3, definitely. And one more thing about Wow Wow Whoopsie is that every time when the theme song was nearly over and the episode was just about to begin, I actually used to try and take a picture of the characters looking at you on the title screen every time it appears when it was on Nick Jr. and Nick Jr. 2. With my VTech camera, I think it was, where it had limited battery and limited memory storage. But that's technology for you, VTech, back in the late 2000s, unlike we have today. Wow, Whoopsie. You'll be one of the shows I remember the most of Nick Jr. from my childhood. Yo Gabba Gabba. I've only seen a little bit of Yo Gabba Gabba, but it's not like I've been a loving dying hard fan. I found it alright, but not as much as Bob the Builder or Little Bill. Just okay. Yeah. And I already seen a bit of Tickety Tock, but not very much. I can't remember the characters' names, so that's the reason why I'm going to leave it there. And that, audience, is my opinions based on the Junior UK show. It's not all of them, but it's some of them. Now, my top 4 shows of Nick Jr., because there's only 4 of them up there. My number 4 favourite Nick Jr. show, if I had to choose Max and Ruby or the Wonder Pets, it has to be the Wonder Pets because I enjoyed the songs, I enjoyed the scenes, I enjoyed the stories from Wonder Pets in my childhood. I think I even asked for a boat toy, I think it was, a few years ago. I did ask for a toy at some point, but I never got it. My number 3 favourite Nick Jr. show has to be Max and Ruby because it's memorable. I've seen it a lot on Nick Jr. What else I got to say? The animation is great. I know it's only 2D, but yeah, I really enjoyed Max and Ruby in my childhood. There is another Nick Jr. show I really enjoyed watching a lot, which was Rory the Racing Car, but it's not on here. So, that's Max and Ruby. Now, if I had to choose Blue's Clues or Wow Wow Whoopsie more, which would be my number 1 Nick Jr. show between Blue's Clues and Wow Wow Whoopsie? Which one would it be? Blue's Clues UK or Wow Wow Whoopsie? Which one would be my number 1 Nick Jr. show? That's a tricky one. The thing is, I have more nostalgia memories of Wow Wow Whoopsie than the UK version of Blue's Clues. Because what I've been saying about the SpongeBob comparison, the VTech camera, the Flash games, and the nostalgia. Kevin Dewada, you're one of my favourite presenters. And when you say cheer in the most friendliest way as possible, which I think that's what makes Kevin Dewada stand out. When the post-time song comes up and he goes, cheer! I think maybe that's the reason why I love Kevin that much, because how very friendly he becomes when he sings the post time song. Oh, bless Kevin. I think that's the reason why Blue's Clues UK has to be number 2 because of Kevin Dewala and the show and everything else. Wow, Whoopsie has to be number 1 because of my childhood nostalgia. And that's it for my Nick Jr. tier list. I know there's other shows down here, but like I mentioned earlier, I've never seen some of them. I've only seen a bit of bits and bobs. Pocoyo will be saved for another time if there is a CITV tier list. I hope Pocoyo is on there. But we'll have to wait and see first. I hope you enjoyed my tier list opinion based on Nick Jr. shows. What do you think? What's your favourite Nick Jr. show, childhood show from the UK? Which one's your favourite? And ask me any other questions at any time. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.